Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user FalalaThrowaway201. One of my 24 female best friends, 25 female, cheated on her boyfriend, 26 male, over the weekend. They're now engaged and he doesn't know. Here's the context. I introduced one of my best friends, let's call her Kirsten, to one of my good friends, Milton, 3 years ago. They instantly hit it off and were an item in no time. To me, it always seemed like they had a good relationship. They started getting serious, bought a condo together, and just adopted a dog from the local shelter last month. Now, on Saturday, Kirsten and I went out dancing with some of my colleagues from work. We were all pretty tipsy, and Kirsten said she had to go to the bathroom, so I went to the bar to get us some drinks. After about 10 minutes, my colleague asked, "Where's Kirsten?" I scanned the bar to find her talking to this guy. She is pretty flirtatious when she drinks, but as I was walking toward her, I saw her lean closer to this guy and start making out with him. I stood there in shock, but after regaining my composure, I made it over to her and told her that we needed to talk. I asked what she was doing and she said, "It was nothing, just the heat of the moment. Please don't tell Milton." I was pretty pissed and told her that was a crappy position she put me in. She said she had to go to the bathroom and then asked if we could go home right after. So I went over to say bye to my other friends when I noticed her leaving the bathroom line and walking over to that same guy again. They were on the other side of the bar, so I started making my way over again when they left. I began calling her phone and she ignored me, and just as I got outside, she was getting into a cab with this guy. I was seething. I tried calling her again and left her a couple of texts and voicemails asking her to call me as soon as she could, so I know she was safe. That was my first priority, to make sure she wasn't going home with some creep. Then I would talk to her about cheating on Milton. She finally got back to me at around 5 a.m. Sunday morning, texting me that she was safe and that she needed to talk to me. I received that text when I woke up around 9 and told Kirsten to come to my apartment. She was over in about half an hour, asked if she could borrow a change of clothes, and she started crying. She said she slept with that guy last night and instantly regrets it. Kirsten said that she missed having other men attracted to her, so she gave in to the temptation. I told her that, even though it was hard, she needed to tell Milton. She said she would and thanked me for not judging her too harshly. I said what she did was wrong and it was unfair to make me choose sides, but Milton is also my friend and most importantly, her boyfriend, so he deserves the truth. A few days pass without a word from Kirsten. Yesterday evening, she texts me saying, "Milton proposed, I said yes." I sat and stared at the text for a few minutes, then she calls me, squealing with excitement, and gave me the details of the proposal. I then asked her if she told Milton about what happened last weekend. She said she didn't, and that she couldn't now or it would ruin their engagement. She then said her mom was calling her, so she hung up. I haven't heard from her since yesterday evening, but she is already posting her ring all over social media. I love Kirsten to death. We have been friends for over 10 years, but I can't help but be angry at her for not only cheating on Milton, who is literally the kindest, sweetest man, but for hiding it from him and accepting a proposal. I get the sense that she is insecure, which is why she sought validation from some random dude at the bar instead of her boyfriend, now fiance. She put me in such an awkward position. A part of me says I need to stay out of it, not ruin my friendship with her as this is none of my business, but I can't get the image of her kissing that guy and leaving in a cab with him. Milton deserves the truth too. I've also been cheated on before, so I know how it feels. I don't want to ruin everything, but the weight of this situation is killing me, considering I'm the only one who knows what happened. What do I do? Well, OP, if I were in your shoes, I would have called Milton while Kirsten was on the phone with her mother. That voice that is telling you to stay out of this is wrong. Do you really value a quote-unquote friend who not only has the morals of a cheater, but ditched you, lied to you, and doubled down on making you her accomplice in cheating on her now fiance? Yeah, that's definitely somebody that I couldn't trust, which to me would mean friendship over. OP, this isn't a friend, this is a user. You say in your post that Milton deserves to know the truth, and since you're the only other person that knows the truth, then at the non-risk of losing a crap person as a friend, I think you need to step up and tell Milton. At this point, it doesn't really matter if she tells him or you tell him or anybody else tells him. What matters the most is that he knows the truth, and then he can make a decision. Hopefully he'll end it, but that's up to him. Now, as a side note, I have a question that maybe you guys can help me out. I don't know if it's irony or just poetic justice that it's gonna have to be OP the one that breaks them up, considering that she brought them together. I'm leaning towards irony, but I could be wrong. In any case, what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes, or what kind of advice would you give him? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Enrichment Only says, "What the F? She didn't tell him despite promising she would. Then he proposed and she accepted and she had the gall to brag about this to you? Here's the conversation I would suggest you have with her. You need to tell Milton what happened. If you don't, I'm going to. Although personally, I would just go tell Milton directly. She had a chance to do this and she went completely in the other lying direction. If you give her an opportunity, she'll probably lie repeatedly and do everything she can to throw you under the bus because she's proven she's a person with no morals whatsoever. If it were me, I'd risk the friendship ending and tell Milton. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be friends with somebody who could do that anyhow. Remember, she may be putting Milton at risk of STDs at this point with her dishonesty." And OP responds, "I think that's what I need to do. Not only from a moral standpoint, but also because of potential health risks. I was so upset when I saw her that I didn't even ask if she bothered to use protection. You're right, he deserves to know, and it would probably be wise if I didn't hint to her that I'm going to tell him." White Tiger 311 says, quote, "Milton deserves the truth too. I've also been cheated on before, so I know how it feels." End quote. You know what you need to do. You didn't and won't ruin anything. That cat was out of the bag not due to your actions, but due to Kirsten's actions. She has made her bed and must now lay in it. The best you can do is tell Milton, but whether or not he believes you is up to him. It's essentially her word versus yours. Do you even really want to be friends with someone who would do this to their fiancé? And OP responds, "I do know that I need to do it. I need to figure out the best way to break it to him. I do have some text messages that I sent her that night after she left and the one she sent to me at 5 AM. I hope that will suffice." And you're right, as I was typing out my post, I realized if she could do that to the man she loves, the one she wants to spend forever with, what could or has she done to me? Not only that, but she deliberately went home with that guy after I saw them kiss and called her out on it. It wasn't a drunken mistake. Witty This Way Comes says, "Friendship is over. Your two options are, 1. Lose both of them as friends because you'll never be able to see or talk to either of them again without the guilt killing you. 2. Salvage your friendship with him by telling him, not even bringing morality or being a decent person into the equation. Telling him is pragmatically the only way you're salvaging either of these relationships." Edit. Side note. You expressly told her you hated being put in the middle after the kiss. She followed this by going home with him and calling you the next day to help her clean up the mess. She just spit in your face. OP's edit. Thanks for all of the advice. I posted this during my lunch break and the office has been busy this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to respond to a lot of comments. I knew right after I posted that I needed to tell Milton, regardless of my relationship with Kirsten. She texted me while I was on my lunch asking me what the weight limit is for a carry-on because she thinks she may need to empty some stuff. I completely forgot she was flying out for a conference this evening. So I gave her a short response and then called Milton, who picked up. I told him I needed to talk to him tonight, and he said he would meet me after work. He works a block away from me. I'm meeting him in a half an hour, and I'm planning on telling him anyways. It's crappy timing considering Kirsten won't be home until Saturday afternoon, but the clock is ticking and I need to be honest right away. I will update you all in a few days. Alright, well the community was telling in unison that OP needs to tell Milton, and that is what OP is going to do. So let's not waste any more time and move on straight to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. A quick thank you to everyone who responded. I wasn't able to respond to many comments on my last post right away due to my post being locked, but here's the update now. As soon as I sent my last post, I knew that I had to tell Milton about what was going on. It wasn't to clear my conscience, it was because I knew if I was in his position, I would want somebody to tell me too. Milton is still one of my good friends too, and he didn't deserve that treatment, regardless of my relationship with Kirsten. Kirsten texted me while I was on my lunch and asked me what the weight limit was for a carry-on, and that's when I remembered she was going away to some conference and wouldn't be back until Saturday. I responded with the weight limit, and then I called Milton and asked him if we could see each other that night. He said we could meet up at a pub in between both of our offices after work that day. When I got off work and walked over to the pub, my stomach was in knots and my heart wouldn't stop beating because I was so nervous to break the news. I walked in and Milton was already waiting for me. He gave me a big hug and he looked so happy, which made me feel even worse. Milton asked about my day, I asked about his, etc. He then asked if Kirsten mentioned anything about the ring, if she liked it, if she was happy, etc. He must have seen the look on my face because he asked me what was wrong. I started by saying that what I'm about to tell him will change either his relationship with Kirsten, his friendship with me, Kirsten's friendship with me, or all of the above. Milton looked confused, so I went on and told him about what happened that Saturday. I didn't call Kirsten any names, I didn't focus too much on her side of my side of the story, I just gave out an attempted objective narrative of what happened, right up until when she called me about the engagement and I asked if she was going to tell him and she said no. Milton went pale for a moment and I asked him if he needed a minute. Milton told me that Kirsten said she got really drunk and slept at my place Saturday night, which is why she didn't come home to him. He asked to see the texts I sent her, so I showed him the text thread and all the placed calls I made to see if she was okay. I told him that if I were in his position, I would want to know, and because I care for him, I didn't want him to find out later on. He looked at me with almost no expression on his face and said, "Well, I guess I should get tested, huh?" I felt bad for him and asked him if he needed anything. He told me he believed me and will talk to Kirsten when she gets home. Milton said our friendship won't change, and he's grateful that I told him before he ended up marrying her, but feels like crap that she accepted his proposal and is flaunting the engagement to the world, yet effed someone 4 days prior. He said he wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the first time something like this has happened. I told him I had no idea if anything else is going on, but if he needed anything else, to let me know. He said he'll talk to Kirsten when she gets back. This is when he started to get a little teary-eyed, said he had to go, and gave me a hug goodbye. I didn't hear from either of them until Saturday night at around 11 p.m. when I got a call from Kirsten asking if she could come to my place. She showed up 15 minutes later and was a crying mess. She said that Milton broke off the engagement because he logged onto her Facebook and found messages that she sent to some guys over the past year. Milton also told her how I told him about last Saturday night, and she said she was too afraid to tell him because it was a mistake. Kirsten then asked why I told him, and I said if it happened to her, I would do the same thing, and if it were me in Milton's position, I would want to know. Her face started turning red, and then she dropped a bomb on me. In case you don't remember, in my last post, I said that I knew how Milton felt because I was cheated on before. My last boyfriend, Dick, and I were together for 3 years before he came to my place one drunken night out with hickeys on his neck. I knew they weren't from me and immediately broke it off with him. He said he doesn't remember who they were from, which I knew was BS. Kirsten said that she was the one that Dick cheated on me with. This means that not only did Dick cheat on me with my best friend, but she cheated on Milton with him too. I couldn't even look at her. I asked her to leave and not to contact me again. I've been questioning our friendship ever since. I got some texts and missed calls from her asking me to hear her out, calling me a bitch, then going back to kissing my ass. I blocked her number and her profiles on all social media accounts. Mutual friends of ours have asked what happened and say they're not surprised by her behavior. I heard from Milton on Monday night. He texted me saying it's over, and I asked if he was okay. He told me he will be eventually and asked me to meet him for coffee when I'm done with work. Apparently, he took a few days off for personal reasons. So I met Milton at a cafe after work. He didn't look very good, kind of disheveled, and his eyes were all puffy. I gave him a huge hug and he said, "Well, that's not how I expected that weekend to go." He said he cut Kirsten off from everything, kicked her out of his house, got the ring back, changing all of his passwords and banking information. She tried contacting him too, but like me, he blocked her off of everything. He asked if I saw her and I told him what happened Saturday night. He felt really bad for me that Dick cheated on me with Kirsten, and I reminded him that 1, she also cheated on him with Dick, and 2, while I appreciate his sympathy, he's the one who needs support right now. Then Milton brought up the fact that I also lost my best friend too. We talked about moving forward and he said he will take some of the engagement ring money after he sells it to go on a nice vacation. We just talked about random things and he thanked me for all of my support. Before we left, he gave me a big hug and said that telling him was a brave thing to do and he appreciates that act of loyalty and it means a lot to him. I said I will be there for him whenever he needs anything. Now, in case anyone thinks about it, I will not become friends with benefits with Milton or even date him. Not now. Yes, I care for him, yes, the attraction is there and we get along great, but I knew how devastated I was after Dick cheated on me. You lose all trust and dating again can be scary. It took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that not everyone out there is a liar or a cheater, and I had to do a lot of self-reflecting and become confident in myself. I want Milton to have that same opportunity. Jumping into something with him would not be wise, especially because he'll be feeling a lot of different emotions over the next little while. Maybe it could happen one day, maybe not. But I'm just going to do what I can to be the friend he needs right now. So that's about it, Reddit. Turns out I was blind to her character this whole time. I'm incredibly hurt that my so-called best friend has never really been a best friend to me at all. I can't be left wondering what else has happened, but to move on and spend time with my friends who care about me and have proven so. I'm just still in shock by this whole ordeal. It makes me wonder if any of this would have come to light had I not said anything to Milton. Thanks for all of your advice, internet strangers. I really appreciate it. Y'all are truly a bunch of gems. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a positive update, possibly happy in the making. And the only reason it's not happy right now is because you and Milton still need to get over the betrayal. But it is most certainly a great thing that Kirsten is no longer in any of your lives. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Take care and thank you for sharing. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Satan085. You're the boss? Okay, you're the boss. So back in 2021, I was working from home with a team of about 20 people in my department. To summarize, our job was to monitor credit cards. We worked pretty independently and efficiently, so the company, to award this, literally promoted the entire department and tripled our pay. And with this, they emphasized that we should be more independent, take more responsibility and all that. And everyone was super okay with it, but then, 6 months later, as every story on this sub goes, there was a change in management. The manager took a job at another bank and our supervisor was fired for doing the deed on company grounds. Pretty cool guy, but terrible at choosing where to F. The new manager was pretty competent. As far as I know, she's still in the position. The problem was the new supervisor in our department, also known as the best friend of the new manager. He came into the job knowing absolutely zero about what we did and immediately wanted to demand results. But then again, he knew nothing about what we did, so he would demand results in the wrong places. Always asking for overtime even when we didn't need it, complained about how we didn't use formal language in the group chat and so on. One relevant thing he learned on his first week is that I was supposed to take his job before he came along. My old supervisor was training me to take his job because he was about to leave anyway, and everyone on my team came to me when they needed something, helped with demand or advice on something work-related. And he was quick to remind me of that, as he asked me to hop on a call with him and reminded me that he was the boss. He told me if anyone asked me for something to tell them to go to him. I said okay. This backfired very quickly since he didn't know anything about what we did. He didn't know how to help all the people coming to him. After a few days they stopped asking him since he could never help and came back to me again. Then again, he told me to hop on a call with him and his new strategy was that whenever someone asked him something, he would then ask me so he could tell them. Again, I said okay. After a month of this, our production was at the lowest it had been in 3 years, but he was happy since everyone was going to him and getting albeit longer responses. So he had to look elsewhere to cause intrigue. He started to bicker when people took their breaks. Our journey was 8 hours a day with 3 breaks, 2 10-minute breaks and an hour break. Everyone had their time to go on these breaks, but since it didn't impact our job in the slightest, everyone just went when it was most convenient for them. All my colleagues started complaining to me that he was busting their balls for this until it came my time. He went on a 10-minute rant on why I shouldn't take my 1-hour break 30 minutes before I was supposed to. I told him it was because I went to a bakery close to my house every day because I was tired of making dinner, and I'd take my break 30 minutes early, otherwise the bakery would be closed. He said if I wanted to go to the bakery, I should go on my own personal time when I'm off the clock. I said okay. But what he said gave me an idea. For me to go on my own personal time, as per company code, besides those 1 hour and 20-minute breaks, I have up to 1 hour of a personal break per day, which you can take whenever you need for whichever personal reason. I told my colleagues this. So every day, 1 hour before my 1 hour break, I would take 1 hour for a personal break to go to the bakery and buy my lunch. My colleagues would do similar things that they needed to do during the time they used to take their breaks. Well, 2 months later, the entire department was terminated since we weren't bringing enough revenue to the company. But it's all good as we have a pretty niche set of skills and everyone quickly found jobs of similar paying wages. No one was sad to be fired. We were actually pretty happy. A few even resigned before the ship sunk. This supervisor wasn't let go until last week, and the department he took over also was terminated. Well, OP, he's the boss, alright. A boss without a team and apparently now without a job. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.